You know, the story of Egyptology, it's just filled with these huge, towering figures, right? But what if I told you the real architects of the entire field have been hidden in plain sight all along? Today, we're diving into some amazing research from Kathleen Sheppard to uncover the untold story of the women who, believe it or not, basically built Egyptology from the ground up.
Okay, so I want you to do something for me. When you think of an Egyptologist, what's the first image that pops into your head? Seriously, picture it. For most of us, it's a very specific, kind of cinematic image, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's that pop culture version, right? A guy probably in a pith helmet wiping sweat off his brow as he's, dusting off some golden sarcophagus. It's this picture of a lone wolf making a grand discovery. But as we are absolutely about to find out, that's not even close to the whole story.
All right, so let's start with Egypt's great fathers. This is what we're told is the Gilded Age of discovery. See, the traditional history of this whole period, we're talking roughly the 1850s to the 1940s. It's all about these so-called fathers of Egyptology. You know the names. They're the ones etched onto museum plaques and all over the history book.
And the stories we hear, they're totally epic. We hear about these huge, larger-than-life adventurers, just like pulling whole cities out of the sand or finding thousands of tombs in one season. It's a story all about massive individual discoveries. But here's the thing. This history, the one we all think we know, is missing its most important people.
Okay, now we get to the good stuff. The women in the shadows. This is the untold story of that Gilded Age. Because this is where the real story begins. Behind the scenes, there was this whole network of brilliant women doing the work that made every single one of those famous discoveries even possible. And get this, we're not just talking about one or two exceptions here. Kathleen Sheppard's research alone brings 17 of these adventurous women into the spotlight, and they were just part of a much, much bigger network that was pretty much systematically written out of the story. So the big question is, who were these women?
Well, they were a pretty fascinating bunch. For the most part, they were unmarried English and American women from well-to-do circles. And being unmarried back then, that actually gave them a level of freedom that their married friends just didn't have. A lot of them were first inspired by these super popular travel books written by other women. They ended up going to Egypt for all kinds of reasons. For health, for adventure, or maybe just to get away from the super rigid society back home.
And they were at this for a long time. We're talking nearly a century of work. It started with early trailblazers like Sophia Poole back in the 1850s, whose writing got a whole new generation excited. Then you had institution builders like Amelia Edwards. She co-founded the Egypt Exploration Society, which was huge. And then there were people actually digging in the sand, like Maggie Benson, who became the first woman to get an official excavation permit. Their influence literally covers the entire period when this field was being created.
So, what were they actually doing? Well, the men were often laser-focused on that one big aha moment of discovery. These women were doing all the painstaking, absolutely essential work that turned what was basically treasure hunting into a real academic science.
So you really have two sides of archaeology here. On one side, you've got the celebrated discovery, unearthing tombs, excavating cities, finding all those wonderful things. That's what gets all the attention. But on the other side, you have the essential foundation, the real work, describing and drawing every single object, cataloging ancient texts and reliefs, handling all the administration and letters. The stuff that made it all possible was happening completely behind the scenes.
Just think for a second about what it actually takes to build a whole new field of study from scratch. These women, they were the ones fundraising for the digs. They were managing museum collections. They were giving public lectures to get people interested. They were developing the first academic courses. They were photographing artifacts and painstakingly reproducing hieroglyphic texts so people could actually study them. They weren't just taking part. They were the architects of the whole shebang.
So this brings us to a sisterhood of scholars. You gotta wonder, how did they succeed against the odds? In an era that was actively trying to keep them out of professional life, how on earth did they pull this off? The answer is, well, it's simple, but it's also totally revolutionary. They did it together.
What they were up against is something historians call formal exclusion, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. We're talking about universities that wouldn't grant them degrees, academic societies that wouldn't give them official positions, and of course, the credit for their work, that almost always went to a man. They were just systematically shut out of all the official channels of power.
So what did they do? They created their own channels. They had a blueprint for success, and it was brilliant. Step 1. Build passionate friendships.
They formed these incredibly supportive social networks that became their lifeline. This allowed them to just circumvent the expected gender roles of the time. And when the old boys' clubs wouldn't let them in, fine. They just went and founded their own institutions. It's genius.
And we need to be clear, these weren't just stuffy professional networks. The research shows they were these deeply personal, interwoven relationships. We're talking powerful friendships, and yeah, in some cases, even romances. This sisterhood, it's what gave them the emotional, the financial, and the intellectual support they absolutely needed to go after the work they love.
Okay, it's time for the final section, rewriting history's heroes and reclaiming a lost legacy. Because when you put all of this together, you start to realize this isn't just a little footnote you add to the old story. No way. This information completely and fundamentally rewrites the history of the entire era.
And it forces us to ask a really fundamental question. If the men were the so-called adventurers, but the women were the ones who built the entire academic and logistical framework from the ground up, then who were the real pioneers of Egyptology?
And this is the knockout punch from Kathleen Sheppard's research. It's this: women were, in fact, the reason that any of the great men of Egyptology were able to be great at all. Think about that. The great men could only be great because of all the unseen work being done by this incredible network of women. Their success was built on a foundation of female scholarship, fundraising, and administration.
And their legacy is it's profound. Every single time they founded a society or taught a course or published an article, they were tearing down another barrier. They literally forged the path that makes it possible for women today to have careers in the field. It's a direct line from them to now.
So it all leaves us with one last big question to think about. If a story as famous and well-known as the discovery of ancient Egypt was missing its main architects, who are the hidden figures behind all the other great stories we think we know so well?